Hey traders, it's Ryan here from the Private Banker. Just going to do a quick recap for today. I've not done one for a little while and just been very busy, so just going to keep it pretty quick today. And just going to cover on what I saw today and how I approached today, and we'll go from there. So what we can see is in crude oil, has seen a pretty nice, a very nice bounce here off of the yearly Vwap, and we just see rotations to the developing value area high, where we've seen pretty much like a 2-3 day balance on the Globex. But I mean, if you look at the RTH trade, we had that sort of spike up, had a balanced day, and then yesterday we see that nice sort of buy, nice sort of rally into the close. It was almost, like I said, like a balanced day, and then we see the rally into the close, and very strong close yesterday. And then today we just sort of came in and just fell back into range, and but we are still continuing to one time frame up here. I mean, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the 6th day of one time framing up, and I was just looking to try to be a buyer off of support today with a continued with higher prices. I mean, I was at least expecting the 103s to be tested today, and it just didn't happen. I mean, it's quite a funny profile yesterday, and we just had that balance, and then we had that sort of 100 tick spike almost into the close. I mean, if we look at the spike, it was from 102.05s almost up to 103s. So obviously with the spike up, I mean, I kind of came in today and I was sort of leaning off this as a B-shaped profile, but realistically it's not a B-shaped profile, it's just a balanced profile of the spike. So when we come into the market the next day, the expectation is obviously a gap up or a rejection of the spike, and the market just fell back into range into the pit session. So what I should have done, which was one of my hypotheses, was just to sell the open with stops above the previous day and targets the previous day's mean, which happened to work out perfectly. But what happens sometimes is on these days is we see the market auction down to an area of interest, and we see like a suspended auction almost come in, and we see a continuation of the buy-in, and I was anticipating maybe a test of the 101.90s, which was into this area from yesterday, which was the value area low on the Globex session. But obviously the way the market came in, and we just had a very tight range, another sort of 40-50 tick range before we see that sort of close in spike down. But so what I was trying to do is just, rather than just take the short down, I was looking to come in and try to buy support back up, but it just didn't work today. So I mean, I just sort of waited patiently, and we see this imbalance come in into the open, and then we start to see sort of two-way trade go back into the market, and I faded this area, which was pretty much the top of yesterday's value on the TPOs, and there was yesterday's Vwap yesterday, which was trading at 102.38. So I faded this market looking for reversion to the mean and possibly a test of destination trade to the 103s. But I mean, the market just came back into balance, we came back into value, and we started just the rotations of the initial balance low, and we just couldn't find any buyers here. And I mean, there was this incomplete auction into the RTH Vwap, which I did think that we were going to try clean up into the 102.74s, but the market just never came back and cleaned us up, and we just see this sort of run lower into that previous day's mean. I mean, if we disconnect, like I said, the spike, and just completely sort of disconnect, just don't look at that as information. I mean, in that sort of picture, we opened up gap up, and we just see a reversion back down to the previous day's sort of mean prices, and so I just sort of, I suppose, got it wrong on a day. But I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, I got my first and second scale out, and I ended up just getting out. I mean, once we started to see this rotations inside of that previous day's value, and just no offer coming in, the order flow that I was seeing, I just decided to get out. I mean, you could see here the delta was just basically getting nailed the whole way down. I mean, they just were selling, it looked like they were just selling it regardless. I mean, obviously this sometimes happens, but I just couldn't get a correct read, and obviously, like I said, I missed my opportunity to sell it, and I decided to try wait and buy support, and I just got it wrong. But I managed risk, and I managed to still take profits on the trade, so it doesn't really matter. And a couple of things I was looking at was we just see a rotation down to the weekly mean, which is where I obviously initiated my first position from, and I was expecting a test of again to the 102, the 103 area, and we just didn't see it. I mean, we did trade here overnight, and then obviously into the open we ran the stops from the overnight trade, and I was expecting again reversions back to the point of control in the overnight, which is back to sort of 103s, but again we just didn't see it happen. There was sort of some obvious telltale signs on the higher time frames. I mean, if we look at the monthly developing value for this month, I mean, we came back into last month's value, and into the Globex session we took out the highs and from that previous swing, and we tested the developing value area higher. So again, I was expecting this to get tested RTH because and clean up this area, but this just didn't happen, and the market sold back down, and that was that pretty much. And same things happened on obviously the quarterly because it's the same value area, but we have come up and we have tested the last quarter's value area high now. So I thought this looked a bit strange. I'm just reloading the data because it's not rolled over on this chart template that I use. Just give me 2 seconds. So here you go, this is the correct view. So again, the same sort of image, and we didn't sort of quite get to that value area high from last quarter and the real extreme. So again, I was expecting a possible test of these prices before we sold off in RTH, or not sold off, but see a retracement further back down with responsive sellers. But again, just that spike yesterday was important information, and disconnecting that and using that real tight trade was quite important yesterday that I managed just to get wrong. So just that's the way it is. Just a quick other look at some other things. I mean, on this year now, I mean, it's looking like we could maybe see some support coming in here, and we could hold this sort of this excess on this volume area, and we could see reversions back to the mean and possibly to the other side, which would take us down to the sort of $95 a barrel, 94 sort of 50s. We'll just have to wait and see here. I mean, we did put in a heavy amount of volume up here, and the mean prices was a 105. So with this sort of bounce we've had up, and I was expecting maybe high prices today, then I was expecting a reversion back to the 105s, which still is potentially on the cards if we continue to one time frame a lean of support. But just have to see what happens here. In regards to the current 240-minute bars, I mean, again, real time, we had this trading range in, so this was a potential range. I mean, I kind of had them drawn. I just kind of drew them like this earlier, just to separate the ranges. I mean, we had this sort of breakout yesterday, like I said, into the RTH close, and then we had this sort of bar come down, and this was the 102 sort of 50s. The next bar came out, and it looked like we were going to hold support here, and we were going to potentially start to bracket and rotate back up to the highs, but this just didn't happen, and I just read it incorrectly. So I was expecting maybe this to sort of happen, and a rotation back up to the 103s, and to sort of take out the stops up here on the overnight trade for any shorts that come into the market. But again, this just didn't happen, and the correct way to draw this current bracket is like this. So this is the current trading range that we are in, and obviously a break below 101.50s will possibly lead the way back down to this year's mean. We'll just have to see what happens. I think that's about it for the minute. I mean, just going to quickly touch base on the monthly and the weekly bars. I mean, yesterday it looked. Let me just double check this is correct. Hold on. Regardless, we've taken out last month's low. So I mean, we was one time framing on the yearly. So we had sort of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months of one time framing higher, and then this month we came in and we smashed out. We took out last month's low. So from a monthly perspective, rotational, markets become rotational with that filter. And on the weekly, let me just double check these are correct. Yes, this assumedly looks correct. I'm just going to quickly reload the data because I don't think this is correct. Okay, this is correct. Obviously, we did take out last week's high in Globex last night, so we did see that one time framing down from the high, and we've taken out that one time framing on the weekly now. So again, rotationals come back in on on the weekly time filter. So just two-way trade balance back into this market, I suppose you could say, from that time filter. So we just have to see how everything works out here, pushing forward here. But quick look at the weekly TPOs. Obviously, this is something I track quite heavily. We saw the responsive buying yesterday off of last week's sort of mean, and we're sort of filling in this high distribution here. So obviously it depends on how we continue to trade here, but 102 is a line in the sand at the minute, it looks like, and there is a gap down here that needs clean up, and we could come back in and just put in this distribution. But I mean, if we look at since the market sold off, we merged these together, you can see we are still finding higher prices, higher value in this market currently. I mean, we clearly traded down here, and the response was pretty rapid, and I mean, this could just be some short liquidation, buying coming into the market. We'll just have to see here, but there is a poor high up here from the previous week, and we still don't have any key access into into this year's highs. So again, just have to see how everything plays out here. But I mean, what I read, I think Ben posted this a little while ago, the other day on his Twitter, is a lot of hedge funds and people got caught out at these year's highs. I mean, myself was also assuming that we were going to continue to see an imbalance to the buy side and continue higher, but you can see a crap load of volume came in here. We see some pretty heavy rotations in the 104 to the 106 or 107 area, but so it looked like hedge funds and a lot of big players got long here, speculating on higher prices on crude into the third quarter, and they just basically got run out of the market here. So interesting to see the professionals getting squeezed out by other professional traders, and obviously there's a lot of hype with all the news and stuff at the minute, which is also interesting that we've not seen the markets really affected by this, because there's been some pretty heavy news coming in. So anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. I'll try to do a more in-depth sort of recap of everything over the next couple of days. Just very busy here at the moment with some projects on the go, and I hope you're all trading safely, and any questions please ask.